Good morning. You're very welcome to this virtual open day for the Bachelor of Arts at Mary Immaculate College. That is MI002 on the CAO handbook. We're going to go to just a general overview of the BA program. I'm going to quickly go through what the program is all about and give you an idea of how the program is structured. So the BA in Liberal Arts here at Mary Immaculate College has 13 subjects. And of those 13 subjects, you will choose 4 subjects in first year, and then you will specialise in 2 of those 4 subjects from second year on. So your degree will be in those 2 subjects that you have chosen to specialise in. We also have a compulsory module for all first year students called Skills for Study and Work, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. And just to let you know also that the Bachelor of Arts degree is fully accredited by the Teaching Council of Ireland. So it's a recognised undergraduate qualification for those who want to go on to become teachers. And the psychology component of the Bachelor of Arts is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland, which is very important for those who want to go on and follow a career in psychology. So this is the way the course is structured. So in year 1, as I've explained, you will take 4 subjects plus the Skills for Study and Work modules. In year 2, you continue with 2 subjects and you will do an elective, and I'll tell you all about those in a moment. Year 3 is the off-campus or study abroad year, where you can work or study abroad. And year 4, then you're back to your 2 main subjects and an undergraduate dissertation. Here are the first year art subjects. Some will be very familiar to you. You'll have done some of them in school. Others will be completely new and you may never have even heard of some of them. All details of the subjects are going to be made available here to you today from each of the departments. They're also available on the website. You can go onto the college website and browse the department pages to find out more about those subjects. I would strongly advise you to go on the website, listen to the talks today, and get as much information as possible as you can about those subjects. So in first year, you have free choice. Students can choose from any one of those 13 subjects that I just showed you. However, we do ask you to bear in mind that in year 2, subjects are grouped. And by that, we mean they're grouped for timetabling purposes. So subjects in the one group will be timetabled at the same time. So it's important when you're choosing your subjects in first year that you have an idea of those groupings, because they can affect your choice in second year. You have to make sure that you have 2 subjects from different groups to go forward with for your degree. Now, most Bachelor of Arts degrees will have their subjects groups from year 1, so there'll be restrictions on choice from the very start. In MIC, we don't restrict choice in first year. We allow you to have a free choice, but we do have to group them in second year for timetabling purposes, and we do ask you to be mindful of that. But we will advise you before you make your decisions in first year. We will advise you if there are any restrictions in your choice. So in year 1, I mentioned that we have a Skills for Study and Work modules. There's 1 module in each semester, and this is compulsory for all first year BA students. And the reason this is so is that this course is aimed at giving you a good, solid background and essential ground in academic writing and IT skills that you will need to successfully navigate your degree here at MIC. So you will learn very valuable skills that you will need to both for your college studies and when you go on to work. You will need those IT, those research, those writing skills. They can be applied when you go in your future careers also. They focus on critical thinking and, writing for, good quality writing at particularly for third level, because it's very different to what you've done at second level. So those skills are taught to you in that first year Skills for Study and Work program. In year 2, you will continue with 2 of the academic subjects that you chose. So they will be your degree subjects. And you will also get to have an opportunity to take 1 elective module in each of the semesters. And we offer a range of electives. They include education, gender studies, information technology, and teaching English as a foreign language, or TEFL. So the TEFL qualification would give you an additional qualification on top of your degree, and it would allow you to teach English to non-native speakers anywhere in the world. So it's a very popular elective. Other electives that you can do if you don't see anything in the prescribed elective list that interests you, we allow students to take elective modules from subjects that they haven't studied before. So you might want to take a module from drama and theatre studies, for example, because you have an interest in it and you're into amateur dramatics. You're not doing it for your degree, but you'd really like to do it as your elective. That's an option too. Year 3 then is the off-campus year. So it can either be study abroad and our work placement. So you can do a full year of study abroad, you can do a full year of work placement, or you can do a combination of both. So for language students, of course, study abroad is part of their program. So if you're a language student, you will be expected to spend at least one semester of your third year in a country in which the language you are studying is spoken. But you will see on the screen there are a really wide variety of options, and there are a wide variety of destinations that you can go to for study abroad. And we have a dedicated placement office here in the college that will help you with your off-campus year, and an international office that will help you with the study abroad choices that you will have to make. So you'll be well advised and guided before you have to make any of those big decisions for third year. So we're often asked things like, oh, but sure, what good is a liberal arts degree? What am I qualified to do when I'm finished? So I've put together just a list of some of the benefits of a liberal arts degree. And just remember, there are more people doing liberal arts degrees around the world that go on to do all manner of careers and professions. So people often start in a more general degree like a liberal arts degree, because let's face it, when we're 17 or 18, very few of us know what we want to do for the rest of our lives, or when we grow up, as people might say. So a liberal arts degree gives you the option of kind of finding out what you like and what you're good at while you are studying. So it's a gateway to a really wide range of careers, and I'm going to show you a few examples in a few minutes. It'll also broaden your horizons. It'll give you a good broad education, and it does give you an innumerable transferable skills that will be useful to many, many different employers and are seen as very valuable by employers. It's also a good starting point for those who want to do a PME, Professional Masters in Education, for either primary or secondary school teaching, and of course to go on to Masters or PhD study in whatever subject you are interested in. Why would you choose MIC? Well, I could go on and on for ages about why you would choose MIC over other colleges. Why would you come and do the BA here? We have a really, really excellent staff. They are really, really good, and they give such good individual attention to students. Students here get a lot of attention and a lot of care because of the smaller group sizes. The college has an excellent reputation, and I think that reputation stands for itself. It's based on all the things I'm telling you about: the excellent staff, the smaller group sizes, the attention to students. We have numerous support services to support you along the way, and the transferable skills that you'll gain from your arts degree here at MIC are highly sought after by employers. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what those skills are in just a minute. And of course, the cornerstone of MIC is that we are a smaller college, so that we are friendly, we are welcoming. We will know you by your name very quickly. You won't be just a number to us. And there's a real sense of community in the college. So we care about our students. The staff members here are very accessible to students, and it's very easy to build good relationships while you're here in the college. So I'm just going to put up 2 slides that show just briefly what our graduate skill sets are. And those are those skills that I was telling you about that employers are going to be looking for when you graduate. So it's not just about the subjects that you're studying. It's not just about the knowledge of those subjects that you're getting. It's about all the other skills that you are gaining as well along the way. And I've listed them here, and here are more. So that ability to critically analyze data, to communicate clearly, to even how to present that information in an accessible format. Those are all transferable skills that are highly prized by employers. possible careers, we're often asked, what can I do if I'm as a BA graduate? And I've just put together a small selection of careers that graduates have gone on to do, or that are possible for you to go on to do. They're just a snapshot. They're just an idea of what you can do. It very much will depend on the subjects you choose and the path that you choose after your graduation. For further information about the BA program, the college in general, or the departments or subjects, you can, of course, check us out on Facebook, on the college website. The departmental web pages are mine of information about those subjects. And this morning's subject talks are going to give you a lot of information. And of course, the college prospectus, which is also available online. So we are going now into our subject talks, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear about each of the subjects that are offered on the BA. So the very first subject that we're going to hear about this morning is music. And I'm going to hand over to Dr. Gareth Cox, who's going to speak to you now about what it might be like to take music as part of your BA degree. So I'm going to hand over now to Gareth.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Is that working? Am I live? No, thank you. We'll bring up the first slide, if you don't mind. That'd be great. There should be a slide there. No, you should be able to see the first slide there. I can see it there. Yeah, you're very welcome indeed. Now, I'll just tell you a few things about studying music at MIC, and particularly I'll be talking a little bit about the entrance requirements and the content of the course. But really, first of all, you see there, why would you want to study music, and why? Well, you'd want to be passionate about music. You want to enjoy playing music and singing and going to concerts, listening to music. So you want to be passionate about it. We often say that you really want to be a music student here and not just a student taking music as a subject. So you want to be passionate about it. And the second thing there on your bullet point there, are you interested in understanding how music works? And developing your music writing skills. So we'll be spending time, and I'll show you on the modules on music theory and techniques. And also, you see there, do you want to learn about music history and discover a range of different kinds of music while you're here in the college? So we'll move on to the next slide. Now, these are a list of the music modules. Now, these are all on the website as well. So I will be encouraging you to go to the music department website, and you'll see details of all these modules there. But as I say, theory and techniques, rudiments, terminology, language of music with some ear training, keyboard harmony, really how to write music and how to write in different styles. That'll develop into arranging for various instruments and for choir and into composition. There are modules in music history. We'll be looking at different historical periods, key developments in music during specific periods, looking at selected works by different composers. You'll see then musical analysis, Irish traditional music, performance. Performance, particularly, I might just say there's a practical each year. That's often, students often ask that. You will be expected to perform and keep your instrumental lessons going or vocal lessons, and you'll have a practical in each year, a short one in first year and a more substantial one in final year. So there is a practical every year. Then popular music, music technology, and then a dissertation, as you have in any subject, an opportunity to study a particular research topic of interest to you. So there's more detail on those modules now. Each module description is available then on the website. So you can also ask me any questions about those. You can email me about details of those. We'll go on to the next slide, please. The next one. is performance possibilities in the college. You can see there's very active performance in the college. There's a choral society performing each year with a choir and orchestra. Obviously, we've had a year where we weren't performing, but hopefully we're back soon. A community choir. There's an orchestra for the university orchestra, which is really the orchestra for the university, for Mary Immaculate College and the schools of music in Limerick, wider community, and so it's then performs a couple of times a year. So students and staff play in the UL orchestra. There's various Irish traditional music ensembles in the college. They get together and play at various events and concerts. The musical each year. There's a series of concerts, lunchtime concerts in the college, and opportunities for students not just to go to concerts, but to perform themselves as well. So many different opportunities, and plenty of practice facilities here, practice rooms, and so in the college there. So that's the performance. We'll go to the next slide now. Now, this is what most students would ask about entrance requirements. Well, we're asking really that students have you see there, a satisfactory standard of music literacy and the ability to play an instrument and or sing. It's the music literacy, being able to write music. So you can see what we're doing here in the second bullet point. We have an advisory assessment in week 1. So a student will come in and decide, well, I'd like to do music. Well, they'll come to the first class. We'll give them it's not an exam, okay? It's an advisory assessment. We will give you a sort of a test, if you like, and we'll ask you some questions, a written one on scales and intervals. You see there, key signatures, rhythms, that sort of thing. And based on that, but very importantly, also based on your musical background, which we'll ask you to fill in a form as well, on your musical background, we'll then advise and say, well, that's we say that no problem at all. That's fine. Or we might say, well, you might want to try it for a couple of weeks if you've had a lot of difficulty with your theory or so, and then see how you're getting on after a week or two. So it's important to know that there's no audition. You see the third one, there's no actual audition. This is an advisory assessment then, and we don't say, no, you can't do it. You take responsibility for yourself if you decide to do it. And that's this year, for instance, to give you an idea, probably about 40 people came along and did that, and it's settled down to about 27 who have decided to take music. And of that, probably about half will go on to major in music from second year on. So those are the entrance requirements. That's really what students ask about, particularly at Open Day, and we can answer any questions again on email. Just go on to the next slide here. I'm aware of time. Careers in music, many different. I don't really need to read these out. The best thing to do is if you just Google careers in music, there's a huge amount of material out there, a lot of institutions that have been with different websites. So I would just Google that and you'll see dedicated websites to explaining all the different careers in music and examples of them. So there's a few examples there. I'm not going to read them out. You can see them. You have this unrecorded anyway, so you can go back and see it. The important thing that students also ask at Open Day is about teaching. If you want to be a secondary school music teacher, well, then you'll have to get a registration by the Teaching Council. And the important question is, yes, the course here covers all the areas of music that the Teaching Council require. So if you study music here, you'll be able to go on and do a PME with the areas covered. And then, as Rachel was saying there, employers, not just arts graduates, but specifically music graduates, because they've got these transferable skills and discipline and creativity and presentation particularly, and cultural awareness, and that's many employers also recruit music graduates because of these particular skills. And the last slide then is a very simple one. It just has the simplest thing is just to go into the music department, into the department website, and from there you'll get all the contact details. And feel free to email any of the staff members there about questions that you might have specific to your own area. So I think that's fun. I'm here at the end to take any questions at the end. So Rachel, I'm going to hand back.
That's great. Thank you very much, Gareth, for that very useful presentation on music on the BA degree. So just before we go to our next speaker, who is Dr. Julian Bloomer from the Department of Geography, I'm just going to remind you that today's session is being recorded and will be available on MIC CAO Hub after today. So I'm going to hand over now to Julian.
Thanks, Rachel. Should be good there. And just share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Thank you. So yeah, welcome to the subject overview, and we're just looking at geography here. So geography and MIC, one of the key subjects available on the program, and of course geography has a lot of relevance these days. We're constantly listening to reports, for example, of the importance of trying to address climate change, and that's a lot of discussion at the moment because we're coming up to the next Conference of Parties in Glasgow next month. So a lot of focus on how we can, for example, be more sustainable in our world and in our practices today. But geography covers both physical and human programs, and in Mary I we're the same. Our program covers, let's move on to the next slide there. There we go. So, again, it's a wide-ranging subject and covers a lot of different issues from climate change, migration, environmental degradation. More recently, what we're going through with the likes of COVID, you could think of the role of, for example, spatial epidemiology. So a lot of what we see in terms of maps today are developed on systems like geographical information systems, or GIS. And again, these all form part of you begin the building blocks for these in the undergraduate program. And should you wish to go on and have a career, geographers are very employable and go on to do a very wide range of careers. So again, central concern being environment, place, and people, and their space and place, and this high degree then of contemporary relevance in the world around us today. So physical environment are in first year. The two modules in first year are broken down into the physical, and then in spring, and then the human in autumn, or vice versa. So these really set the kind of building blocks for future modules. So they prepare you for more specialized modules going forward, but and introducing students to the whole range of, for example, remote sensing. So the use of satellite imagery, for example, in the assessment of physical environments. In human geography, we are concerned with how humans are living on the planet today, and within our own modules on the program, we look at everything from rural development in African societies to urban geography, to the sustainability of cities, because as we become an increasingly urbanized population, we're trying to understand how we can best live in these growing metropolises around the world, and trying to understand the relationship between urban and rural and these other different spatial patterns. And another central concern would be along the lines of trying to understand inequalities in the world today. So particularly if we think about, say, economic geography, the impacts of globalization, and trying to understand these impacts and how they manifest themselves in the world today, and how we can try to address some of these issues. Fieldwork is an important component. It's been on hold over COVID, but as soon as we are in a position, we hope to be able to offer those fieldwork within the Mary I BA program, the fieldwork comprises of a few days, week or so, doing a residential field trip. And again, this is kind of combining both physical and human methods when you're out in the field. So you'd be exposed to a wide range of techniques. And I think, fieldwork is certainly a very essential component of geography, because we can go out and examine the world around us and get out from the classroom as well. So again, I think, as has been emphasized so far, there's a lot of value on wide range of specialist and transferable skills. And a geography degree can provide a pathway into lots of different areas. For example, careers in town and country planning, spatial development, local and regional development, environmental research and management, economic and social consultancies, geoinformatics using the data, and as we've said about the role of GIS today, very present around us, tourism, and of course teaching as well. If you want to go on and teach, you're provided with you have the prerequisites to do that if you do the geography as part of the BA program. Leaving cert geography isn't essential, so you don't have to have it, and but you do have to probably have a strong interest in either landscapes or people, or both, and and be curious about the world around you. And I think the program will create a well-informed global citizen. It will be what we'll be hoping to create, or foster an interest in. So leave it there, and if you have any questions, into the box.
That's great. Thanks, Julian. Thanks for that presentation. So we're going to move on now to the next subject, and the next subject is psychology. And we're going to go now to Dr. John Perry. So I'm going to hand over now to John.
Thanks a million for that, Rachel. Welcome, everyone. So my name's John. I'm going to just spend the next 5 minutes talking to you about how psychology fits into the arts degree. And I put a definition up there because it's an arts degree, yet psychology, a bit like geography, where Julian was saying there, sort of spans that divide between science and some of the arts and humanities. We define psychology as a scientific study of the mind and behavior. Okay, now at the most basic level, essentially we're interested in understanding why do people think the way they think, feel the way they feel, and behave the way that they do. And the reason it's a scientific study is because there's a whole host of reasons as to why, and science is interested in cause and effect, right? So if we better understand why people think, feel, and act like they do in certain situations, then we might be able to change some of those variables, which will have hopefully a positive outcome on the lives of individuals. Now, there's actually 3 degrees that we run at Mary Immaculate College that psychology is part of. There's the BSc in psychology. You can study it alongside education, and you can study it as part of the arts degree. Rachel mentioned at the start it is accredited by the PSI. And if you study the arts degree and you do psychology as a subject, you'll be studying largely the same modules as the people from those other 2 programs as well. So you're not really kind of missing out, although you are getting another subject as well. So you have a slightly broader degree. And because accredited, that means that often we see people going on and doing a master's degree in psychology, which could be anywhere in the country or beyond, but they'll often be sat next to people that have done other pure psychology routes or the education and psychology degree alongside. Now, I mentioned right at the start there, it's about trying to understand why people think, feel, and act how they do. And essentially we can then think of 5 main areas that help us to understand why people act like they do. The first one might be personality and individual differences. Everybody's different, right? But you'll all have some personality aspects, these relatively stable aspects of your character. You might be an optimist. You might be a pessimist. You might be really resilient. You might be emotionally very sensitive. You might be really kind and generous. You might be really selfish, you know? And they help us to understand people. A lot of that is genetically informed. Some of it is developed over time through experiences. Other reasons people behave as they do is social reasons. So we study social psychology. Let's take an example, big social issues, things like racism, okay? There's no genetic component as to why people are racist. They're informed by the environment around them. So by understanding why they hold those attitudes, we're better able to change. We might study developmental psychology. So right from the moment, from fetus through to birth, through to over the lifespan and into older age, we change and we develop, okay? And the better we understand the mechanisms through which people understand whether it's intelligence, whether it's language abilities, whether it's problem-solving capabilities, but we understand that trajectory that people go on throughout their lives, again, the better we can have some sort of positive impact. Some of the reasons why people think, feel, and act the way they do might be biological, okay? The brain's an extremely complicated organ. We know there's different parts of the brain and they're all responsible for different things, and there's different like synapses, which is essentially gaps where if a neurotransmitter, which is like a hormone, sits, it makes you feel a certain way. So understanding that is important. Or we can also investigate things from a cognitive point of view, which is understanding how people think. How do we process information? How do we remember stuff? How do we form narratives around those memories that inform the way that we behave in the future? All of those kind of things we study as well. And alongside all of that, because we're trying to establish cause and effect, we have to understand how to undertake research, how to develop a hypothesis, test a hypothesis, experiment, analyze our findings, those kind of things as well. So we study research methods throughout. And that's essentially where you go on the program. I'll not go too much in depth in terms of what you'll do in a specific year, because you can either ask about that or that will come later on. But I hope that was informative, and I'll hurry off now so you can get the next presentation. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, John, for that. And just before we go to the next speaker, I'm just going to remind you that if you have a question about any of the subjects on the BA degree or the program in general, please do use the chat function to type in your question. Just look for the chat bubble, the speech bubble on your screen, and use that function to type in any questions you might have. So we're going to go now to history, and Dr. Liam Chambers, the head of the history department, is going to give you a brief overview of what it's like to study history as part of the BA degree.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I hope that everyone can hear me. Okay, so my name's Liam Chambers, and I'm a lecturer in the Department of History, and I'm just going to say a few words about why you should think about studying history at MIC and what it involves. And I'll try and address a couple of common questions, things I'm usually asked at Open Day as well. So first of all, why study history? Why should we think about studying history? That's the place to start. So I could give you lots of reasons, but I'm going to try and confine myself to 3 to try and keep to time. So first of all, history is important because studying the past is essential if we want to understand the present, and indeed if we want to imagine the future. So to take a simple example, a current example, this year is the 100th anniversary of the establishment of Northern Ireland. It's the 100th anniversary of the Anglo-Irish Treaty of 1921 as well. And these things have shaped Ireland for the last century. And we've seen recently in the debate about whether Michael D. Higgins, the president, should attend a commemorative event in Armagh, that they remain controversial subjects. And they illustrate really well, I think, the extent to which how we understand history, how we understand the past, is also very much about society today and how we understand society as it currently exists. To take another example, early this year, a report was published on mother and baby homes in Ireland. It generated an awful lot of debate about how to understand that part of our past, especially how to understand the fate of children who died in the home at Tuam and were buried at the gravesite pictured on the slide. And that story of mother and baby homes is a story about the past in some ways, but it's very much also a story about the present, and it's a story about Irish society today. Now, I could give you lots of other examples, but I hope that you see the point. And the point is that more than ever, perhaps, we need to know our history. And not just because it's fascinating, which it is, and I'll come to that, but also in order to understand the present and in order to figure out the future. So a second key reason for studying history, and in some ways this is the best one, is because it's just very interesting. It's fascinating. History is about people. It's about people like you and me. It's about understanding the local. You can see Limerick up there on the slide, a map of Limerick. It's about the regional. It's about the national. It's also about the global. And history is about politics. And sometimes when we think of history, we think specifically of politics, but it's about much, much more than that. It's about society. It's about culture. It's about the economy. It's about religion. It's about ideas. It's about lots of other things. And what history does is it helps us to understand change in all those areas over time. And in doing so, I think it enriches our lives. A third important consideration if you're thinking about studying history is that history provides you with opportunities and with transferable skills. So it gives you an ability to evaluate evidence. It gives you an ability to think independently. It encourages you to create coherent arguments. It shows you how to write and indeed how to speak and present your ideas well. In other words, it opens up to you a whole range of different careers. And there's an opening up of opportunity on the slide there. This is an image from the fall of the Berlin Wall, a very particular kind of opening up of opportunity back in 1989. So two quick practical questions. Can I study history? And the answer to that is yes, you can. I'm frequently asked if there are specific admission requirements for history. There aren't. If you study to Leaving Cert or you're studying it to Leaving Certificate level, that's wonderful. If you're not studying it to Leaving Certificate level, but you're interested in the past, you've always been interested in history, but you just didn't take it to Leaving Cert, you will be more than welcome to study it at third level. There are no specific admission requirements, and you will not be at a disadvantage if you didn't study Leaving Cert history. It's probably the main question I'm asked, so I'm providing you with an answer here. What kind of history will you study at MIC specifically? So we offer Irish, European, American, and some aspects of global history. We run through from the medieval period right through to the early 21st century. And we deal with the past from a whole host of angles, political, yes, but also social, cultural, gender, and many other aspects of the past too. And all of our lecturers that you'll encounter at MIC are active researchers. So we're very keen to bring the fruits of our own research into the classroom. So you'll be engaging with the latest approaches and findings in history, as you will with all art subjects at Mary Immaculate College. So if you'd like some more information, you can have a look at our departmental website. You'll also find us at History at MIC on Twitter, and you can feel free to email myself or any of my colleagues in the Department of History. All of our email addresses are on our website. So I'm liam.chambers@mic.ul.ie, and I leave you with First World War recruiting poster, which tells you that you're no exception. You can join now. So I'm going to finish there. And I hope that you found it informative and you enjoy the rest of the open day presentations. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Liam, for that presentation. And just to remind you, as Liam has mentioned there, if you have an interest in any of the subjects on the Bachelor of Arts programme and would like more information, you can, of course, contact the department. The email addresses are given on the college website, so do check that out if you have further questions after today. So we're going to go now to our next subject, which is French, and I'm going to hand over to Dara Sanfrey from the Department of French Studies. Apologies for these difficulties, a factor of life when we're presenting remotely like this. So to give Dara a chance to resolve the issue, we're going to move to our next speaker, which is Dr. Daniel Vasquez from the Department of Philosophy. So while Daniel is giving you an overview of philosophy on the BA programme, we hope that Dara will have more luck resolving his sound issues. So we're going to go now to Daniel.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna share my screen then. Perfect. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about philosophy. Thank you. And so I guess I'm gonna start with what is philosophy. And there are many definitions and many ways that people have tried to explain what philosophy is. In some sense, it's just the intellectual tradition in different in different cultures. But if we try to say something common about them, is that philosophy is the study, reflection, analysis of fundamental questions. And fundamental questions like how should we live our lives, and what are our duties to others, what can we know, and how to distinguish knowledge from nonsense or from apparent knowledge, and what may we hope for, and if there is a God, and what are the arguments for that, and if there is not, what does that imply? So it's the analysis and study and reflection of basic concepts that constitute and are behind many of our daily life experiences and institutions. Concepts like justice, freedom, knowledge, the nature and relation between the mind and the body, language, the relation between our freedom and the laws of nature, and also the study about what makes a good argument in a general sense, and how language works, how can language do certain things, and how should we, or if we should restrict our speech in certain ways. So, and this is just like a very general picture with some of the topics that are studied in philosophy. These are mapped into different areas that you probably have heard at some point, like ethics, political philosophy, metaphysics, but there is also philosophy of language, philosophy of science, and so on. Now, I guess, why should you study philosophy? Now, some might think that philosophy is just for elites that have no worries about what they are going to do with their lives, and they just want to sit down and think and waste their time. But philosophy in reality helps you and teaches you to reflect, to change your opinion, to change your mind. It teaches you to analyze concepts and arguments and to challenge assumptions about our values, but also about the policies and the way institutions work and how we construct messages. It's also about exercising your own judgment and analyzing the options you have for actions. It will help you to propose improvements for policies or for practices in whatever in whatever area you end up working, perhaps in education or in government, but also in private industry. You will need this set of skills at any point. But especially when you get to a point where you become a leader and when you want to change the culture or the practices in places where you're working. Now, so the Department of Philosophy at MIC is comprised by Dr. Basil Vasilikos, Dr. Catherine Kavanagh, and myself. And we teach some of these modules. For example, in Basic Questions in Contemporary Philosophy, which is the first year module, we will see and study questions like how can we get justice for everybody, and what are the different theories of justice. But we also gonna see certain new developments in the discussion about freedom of movement, or about whether our emotions should motivate our actions, especially in the political sphere. Whether should anger motivate political action, or should reason, or can they both motivate together a positive change in the world? On the other hand, there are many other questions like what is art, and why we enjoy art, and what is the nature of that enjoyment. Of course, there are also some modules that will give you the history of philosophy, which is very important because these topics have been discussed for centuries, and to understand fully what is going on right now and how to analyze the world right now, we have to look back and see the beginnings of those discussions in ancient Greece, but also in the modern era. And also we'll have some opportunities to go and reflect and read from other cultures, from Indian philosophy and Chinese philosophy, and developments that have also happened in South America. So this is just a very brief summary of how philosophy is taught in MIC, why I think it's important. I think that one of the advantages of the philosophy as part of the BA in Arts is that is taught together with other subjects, and that fosters some thinking that is important and that will help you to understand how can you then go and change the world for the better. Now, I think that philosophy, there are also careers in philosophy that are really attractive. For example, in government, in education, and of course in academia if you want to explore further and go into graduate school. But I think that it's also important for everybody to learn some philosophy. And one of the advantages of the BA in Arts at MIC is that it allows you in the first year to take some philosophy, even if then you go and specialize in 2 different areas. But then you get some of the philosophy that will initiate you into the reflection of all these important questions that are gonna always be behind the scenes in whatever you do. Thank you very much.
That is great. Thank you so much for that, Daniel, and thanks for stepping in earlier than expected. So we're still working to resolve the sound difficulties that we were having with Dara. So we're going to go on to our next speaker now at the moment while we look into those issues. And our next speaker is going to be Professor Eamon Conway, who is head of the Department of Theology and Religious Studies. So I'm going to hand over now to Eamon.
Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be with you. Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be with you. Can I just check you're seeing me? Okay, good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak to you on this open day. So I'm going to talk to you about theology. Theology and religious studies is one of the subjects you can take here in Mary Immaculate College as part of your liberal arts program. And it's not something you can get on every university campus in the country. In fact, Maynooth, DCU, and ourselves are the main places. Maynooth, of course, in the Pontifical University, the main places where you can study theology as part of your degree. Why study theology? Well, you've obviously studied probably some level of religious education in your school, and it's like that, and yet it's not quite like that. It's like that in the sense, of course, you're learning knowledge about the different belief systems, and perhaps also in particular about Catholicism, if you've been in a Catholic school. We step one level back a bit from religious education, which is kind of geared towards catechesis, towards initiating you into a belief system, to analyze and explore the science of belief. To that extent, it's comparable with what you've just been listening to in regard to philosophy. So we're looking at what is the role of belief, what impact does belief have on society, what is the origin of religions, what are religions about. I would suggest if that's something you're personally interested in, this is the ideal subject for you. And to our surprise this year, in fact, our numbers have seriously increased. We've gone up to 85 first years taking theology in the program that you're hearing about this morning. That's more than double actually what we've had. We've been asking ourselves, why is this the case? We used to have those numbers maybe 10, 12 years ago, and then the number of subjects available to art students expanded. One of the possibilities really is that the whole pandemic has brought through to us in a very particular way questions about the meaning of life. And of course, theology explores questions of ultimate meaning. Why are we here? Why is there anything rather than nothing? It's the why questions, perhaps more than in other disciplines. We also explore the how questions. Thinking about this, a line came to me from C.S. Lewis, one of the greatest thinkers of our last century. And it was a homily he gave. He was an Anglican priest at the time of the outbreak of World War II. And he said the war, this was talking about World War II, creates no absolutely new situation. It simply aggravates the permanent human situation so that we can no longer ignore it. Human life is always lived on the edge of a precipice. And I think we could say the same about the pandemic, the awful shock to our systems that we've been through for the last couple of years. You too, particularly, your whole second level education at a critical moment, disrupted. Perhaps also your family life. Perhaps you've had close friends or others who have suffered because of the pandemic in a very personal, a very real way. So just to say back what Lewis has said, the pandemic has created absolutely no new situation. It aggravates the permanent human situation that life is always lived on the edge of a precipice. I suppose theology explores that. It explores both in a sense, the challenges we face in life, but also the joys. And above all, it's trying to explore faith, hope, and love. Why are these possible? How are these possible in our lives? So if that is something that might interest you in a particular way, we very much encourage you to consider doing theology. You probably got some questions. They're all up on our website. The whole list of the modules. You Google theology and Mary Immaculate College. Just go straight to the website. You'll find it all there. The list of the different subjects. So we cover religion and world religions. We cover how it is to be a moral person. Again, along some of the lines you were hearing there in philosophy. Different images and understandings of God in the various world religions, and even within Catholicism. One of the things I find actually is that an awful lot of Catholics, people who've gone through school like you are, and others grown up as adults, have a very distorted understanding actually of what Christians are taught to believe or should believe about God. What about careers? Hospital chaplaincy, interesting one. We just had somebody last Thursday graduate with a PhD in hospital chaplaincy, and there's a leader among hospital chaplains. Teaching, obviously, and we cover all the bases so that when you leave our liberal arts program, you will be able to do your teaching qualification and teach religion in schools. And I know it's an issue of concern to many. There is actually quite a demand for religion teachers. A lot of people don't have religion lined up. So that's very important as well. And then, of course, pastoral ministry in dioceses and so on. And generally, there are career options in the caring professions. So I would like you to consider taking theology and religious studies if it's the right subject for you. Look forward to hearing any questions and issues and concerns you have, and please do feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel and the team.
Thanks very much, Eamon, for that very informative presentation. And as Eamon said, all the details on the subjects are available on the college website. And of course, you can ask any questions that you might have about any of the subjects or the BA in general, or just the college in general, by using the chat function on today's webinar. So we're going to move now to our next speaker. Our next speaker is from the Department of Drama and Theatre Studies. And we're going to hand over now to Dr. David Clare.
Hello, everyone, and hope you're keeping well and enjoying all these great talks about the exciting subjects that you can study here at Mary Immaculate College. And today I'm going to talk to you about studying drama and theatre studies. And I suppose the first thing to note is just how passionate we are about our subject. And that passion can, I suppose, be, a thing that might intimidate some folks if you are actually only interested, kind of in a tangential way about drama, that you kind of love going to the theater or you love performing or that kind of thing. But you wouldn't be sure that you want to, put your whole life and heart and soul into a career in the theater. Well, I suppose I just want to say that if you take drama as a subject, really be reassured, if you're not a full-on theater person, that this is for an undergraduate degree and not a commitment for life. And yet, we also provide you with a whole range of transferable skills that you will be able to use in whatever field you would ultimately go into. But of course, if theater and performance are your thing, then yes, this is a great place to come as well, because you will be equipped with all types of knowledge along practical theater making lines, and even in terms of the kind of theoretical or more academic side of theater history. And I suppose in terms of the gateway that this provides, just have a think about the fact that kind of getting an experience of performing and doing those kind of practical drama modules will actually give you the ability to, for instance, present your ideas when you are in any kind of job in life. And also that kind of, if you like, the more chalk and talk or classroom-based side of things will also equip you to, kind of present your ideas in kind of written forms and in essays, again, in any field that you might choose to go into. So what should be noted is that this is a great subject because of the fact that it kind of combines that academic or scholarly approach with something that is very creative and very artistic. And because we actually regard plays as sort of blueprints for performance, it's very much an experience where, we are lifting plays off of the page and kind of bringing them to life, whether through acting ourselves or directing ourselves or that kind of thing, or whether we're just talking about the fact that as we teach you plays, we're very conscious of the fact that these plays were actually performed by people, for people in a live space. Plays, of course, give an insight into the human soul and give an insight into how humans have made sense of their lives. And in that sense, it is actually something that has crossover with other subjects you might be interested in studying, including everything from, say, English right through to philosophy and theology. You get a real sense of the broad stretch of theatre history, from the Greeks all the way through to the Dublin-born Samuel Beckett, and on to great hits of today, such as the great musical Hamilton and everything in between. I suppose we also have a very great interest in how theatre has been made and is still being made in Ireland right up to the contemporary moment. And in that sense, our program very much will give you a deeper understanding of the country in which you live and kind of the different socio-political issues that have been at play over centuries. One of the unique things about us, of course, is that we have a special relationship with two venues here in Limerick City, the Lime Tree Theatre, which is right here on campus, and the Bell Table, which, as you may know, is in town. And our special relationship with these venues means that we actually, have many visits to them, and you will sometimes have sessions held in those theaters. And so you really get to see professional theater up close and get a real sense of, kind of how theater is made in those actual professional theater spaces. In terms of the mix of studio-based classes where you might be up on your feet and, engaged in kind of acting or devising or directing or that kind of stuff, or even, let's say, in a practice-based module that's more about, say, playwriting or that kind of thing, that is about 50% of what the work you'll do with us. The other 50% is more classroom based. And so just so you know that there's more of that 50-50 split, in case you're wondering, I'm really into performance, or I'm not really into performance, and I just want to know what the balance will be in terms of how, comfortable or uncomfortable I'll feel in this program. One of the great things as well about our program is our staff is highly qualified and very active research-wise. And here are some covers of recent books that we have written and or co-edited. And I suppose the breadth of the titles that you see there indicate our interest both in Irish theatre history and also, applied theatre and kind of theatre as it has an impact on society, because, our program is very, very interested in how society can be transformed through performance, both historically and right up to today, and very interested in ideas around social justice, etc. Of course, having that expertise behind us means we bring it into the classroom, and it means that we are at the cutting edge of research in our respective fields, me and my colleagues. So that means that, the learning that you'll get from us actually is right up to the minute. It won't be folks giving you stale ideas that have become passé, that have been kind of proven to no longer be true about either Irish theatre history or even contemporary performance practices. So as previously noted, you're going to get a whole load of skills from the drama modules that will help you in pretty much every area of your life. Everything from confidence and, self-presentation skills, right up through to teamwork and collaboration, the ability to work within an organization, a sense of discipline that helps you to accomplish tasks in an not just orderly way, but an efficient way. And again, the ability to communicate everything that you're learning all along the way. So for the specific modules that you'd be taking, you'll see again that there's a nice range there. Some relate to, kind of theatre history right up to the present moment, such as contemporary European and world theatre, or modern Irish theatre and contemporary Irish theatre. Others are more related to kind of practical theatre making, such as ensemble and devising in theatre, and storytelling and poetry, and directing and writing for theatre. Others kind of are a nice mix of both kind of classroom study and practice, such as introduction to drama, theatre, performance, and my own performance in music module, which 50% of your grade is related to an essay you write, but the other 50% is related to a musical theater performance that you create that lasts about 10 minutes long. And of course, you would have the choice to do your undergraduate dissertation with us if you take drama as one of your subjects. And that can often be a very exciting project in which you do a deep dive into some theater-related subject that is of interest. So if you were to graduate with a degree that has a drama component, just know that employers we have seen based on our graduates are very interested in people that have these excellent communication, teamwork, and entrepreneurial skills that you get from practical theater making and from the different practical modules that we do. But you'll also be prepared, thanks to the kind of more classroom-based modules, to go into further study in the field of drama and theater or some other aspect of the arts. We also set you up nicely because of our interest in social and applied theater in how to bring theater into educational and therapeutic and community settings. And we also equip you with practical theater making skills around all of the aspects of theater making. And therefore, if you do want to go into professional theater work, as many of our graduates have done, and many were very involved, for instance, in the Waiting for Poirot play that took place in the People's Park this past summer in Limerick, then you're well set up for that as well. And of course, that applied side of things that we're interested in means you're also set up to engage in, say, drama facilitation in schools or running drama classes in schools, or even perhaps you want to do a master's in education to become a teacher. So thank you very much. And if you want further information about our program, feel free to look up on YouTube. There's some kind of Instagram videos that we've put up there that are led by Dr. Carol Quigley, one of my colleagues. Thanks a million.
That's great. Thank you very much, David. And do, as David has recommended, check out those videos on Instagram and YouTube. We're going to move now to our next speaker, who is in the Department of English Language and Literature, and is Dr. Owen Flannery.
Good morning, everybody, and I hope you're learning as much about the BA and all the various subjects as I am. Just trying to get my PowerPoint presentation up and visible. If you bear with me a second now. That's not visible, Rachel, is it?
Not yet, Owen.
Okay. Okay, just a second now. Oh, there we are. Is that okay?
No, not yet, Owen. We can share from this end if you wish.
That would be great, actually. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll share from this end, and when you want to transition, just indicate that you need to go forward.
I will indeed. Okay. So yeah, as I said, delighted to be given the opportunity to welcome you. My name is Dr. Owen Flannery, and I'm the acting head of English and of the Department of English Language and Literature here at Mary Immaculate College. I suppose it's interesting listening to colleagues about geography and psychology and music and theology and philosophy, because English is a subject really that is very much complementary to those subjects, in the sense that it deals with landscape. I mean, if we look at the slide there, we think about a poet like Seamus Heaney, and there's probably no better poet in the English-speaking world, no more famous poet in the English-speaking world that represents and reimagines our relationship and the importance of our relationship to landscape. Likewise, on the bottom there, someone like William Shakespeare. When we think about psychology and the understanding of the human mind, Shakespeare dramatizes that development in his theatre very early on, of course, and we study both those writers. And then a writer like Jhumpa Lahiri, who raises issues about migration and gender and globalization. Again, these are issues maybe that are touched upon in other subjects, and the consequences of these for people at ethical and political levels are touched upon in other subjects. But we look at them, how they're represented in language. And that's just a sample of the writers, I suppose, that we look at in English, and also that emphasize the interdisciplinarity of our approach to English at MIC. Can we move along there? Yeah. Again, sorry, Rachel, yeah, there's probably a few transitions built in. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So the primary gateway, I suppose, to finding more information initially anyway is our website at the Mary Immaculate College. Our web page is on the Mary Immaculate College website. On the right-hand side there, you'll see a whole array of links that will offer you more information on the subject, on the staff, and on our research, as I'll point to in a few moments, that our teaching is very much underpinned by a variety of excellent research areas spanning long historical periods, but also that's international, theoretical and interdisciplinary as well. And that's very much collaborative. And it's designed really, as David said in relation to drama and theatre studies, is designed to give students the opportunity to engage with the most contemporary and most up-to-date positions and interpretations of historical texts, but also contemporary texts as well. And one of the questions I'm asked usually if we're at the face-to-face open day is, what job can I get with an English degree? And obviously that's been addressed by a number of my colleagues thus far. But I often, maybe it's the critical theoretical side of English. I often respond with another question, and I've seen a number of questions pop up on the chat function there. Can I be this with this degree? And it's interesting to see that those links, those common links being made. But I often respond with the question, well, what job do you want after your English degree? And it really stems from the fact that our view is that the degree doesn't define you. You you use the degree to cater and to curate your own future. And really what we do, and I think it's been mentioned, this idea of the fact that the humanities, and I'm speaking from the English point of view, we offer you a kind of set or suite of skills and challenges and opportunities in order to develop innate interests that you have, pre-existing skills that you have, maybe underdeveloped skills that you have, and potentials that you have. So really, it's not about us tailoring you for a specific career. It's about offering you skills so that you have a choice of careers once you finish. And that can be, some of them overlap with other subjects. I've seen journalism mentioned earlier on. Obviously, teaching at primary or secondary level is something that many of our graduates go into. Some of them go into law, some of them go into business. Essentially, any kind of career that demands creative thinking, demands the ability to construct, but also to interrogate arguments, that involves advanced communicational skills. All of these skills are applicable across a whole range of vocations and jobs and careers. And I suppose in the kind of more modern context, the idea of having a job for life is kind of going out of fashion, so that it's more important to have skills that allow you to be flexible in the current employment context. And I think English is at the core of that idea. And as I said, one of the best places to go is to our website. And one of the things that you'll notice, I mentioned this idea of our research. Our research is based on this idea of creativity and critical thinking. As I said, it feeds entirely into our teaching. So we're not just providing information about literary history. We're not just providing information about contemporary writing. We're teaching you to appreciate it at aesthetic levels, at formal levels, but also to think about how, at a general level, language has been used historically, how it has changed and is constantly changing. As I said, providing you with a whole set of aptitudes in order to develop your own analytical skills. And this, as I said, is threaded right through our range of modules. And you'll see an overview there. The first year, I mean, I'm not going to go into these in any great depth. The first year really is about equipping you with the basic skills to deal with the three of the primary genres: poetry, literary fiction, and drama. The level of analysis and reading is introductory, as it says there, in the first semester, and it's ramped up a little bit in the second semester. But it's really to provide you with some very solid foundations, some challenges along the way, obviously. For those of you who take English, then you'll see that there's a spread of concentration on the different genres. There's obviously more in-depth study of those individual genres themselves across the discrete modules, but there's a very generous and important historical range right across the set of modules on offer. And these modules change in themselves. We change different texts depending on our own research priorities, and sometimes we change the modules as well, depending on what we see as important emerging research areas in our fields. And I suppose to sum up, again, to return to this idea of skills and opportunities. I mean, these are just three of them. We could have had maybe a dozen even. But one of the things that we're very interested in is creativity, and not just the text that we read and that we see as being creative or that are defined as creative, but it's about tapping into our own creativity, to be creative critics, to be imaginative critics in how we respond to other forms of creativity. It's about interrogating language and realizing that language is elastic, it's plastic, it's malleable, and it changes over time. And who changes it, why it changes, and what those changes in language are put to service for. Is it in the service of free thinking or of liberal thinking, or the opposite, maybe? Okay. And likewise, as I said, they focus on language we focus on language in everyday use, in writing, in literature, and these enable us then to go into non-literary contexts, like a teaching environment and a work environment, and be fully aware of how language is used and the possibilities for language. That's pretty much all I have. If you're interested, as I said, I've two of the slides up there that are links to our website. Feel free; it's the primary gateway to our information, and also you'll see links to all of our email addresses there as well. And feel free to contact us with any questions. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Thanks very much, Owen, for that very useful presentation on English on the BA degree. Before we move to the next speaker, I just wanted to let you know that unfortunately we haven't been able to resolve the technical difficulties that we experienced with Dara Sanfi in the Department of French Studies. However, Dara is still online and is available to answer any questions that you may have about French on the BA degree. So please do use the chat function to ask those questions, and Dara will be happy to answer them for you. So we're going to move now to our next speaker, and our next speaker is Ceanrina Ryan de Gaeilge, that is Dr. Brondan O'Chronin, and he's going to speak to you now about studying Gaeilge on the BA degree.
Good morning, Rachel. Will on PowerPoint le feshkind?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, Rachel. Yeah. Kerkelor, okay. Tá súlagum gwyn sif olaf le heistrucht le beganin Gaeilge. Maar ben een geintje van as Gaeilge ach bij mij een kaint gomaul de reine beganin as klachte beter. Ach peeskele tá fáilte roiv godi Ryan de Gaeilge is mische fe mar doit Rachel Brondan O'Chronin agus bevaljum haar calendar beganin ólis hoort even jov. Féin min siúla gwingen sa agus féin méid veg siúl gwifhénig ma raunin sif an Ghaelin mar áver stadéir. And so you go to put it on small. I guess that no tasula going Guineanig could vagav a shin, could meet fall to remish na hene. At a gedol she is femarihin shiv tasuligum, and Schlauna and so. Tashelem Muev Agunga, got to be Ryan Gaeilge on Ryan Akaduil is mo in of the non. Mar, Machrimits and I of the MIC Limerick at Hagging at Hydin of Stoderlin. an campus eile atá going in Norlis agunta Hebridáin. Is féidir in rá go bhfuil go maith os ciún 600 macléin nó mar sin I déanamh stadéir an Ghaeilge anseo agus gandát ní beag son. So sin an muomh is mailin a bheith bóisgáil mar jaolar sin. Mar sin is féidir in rá go bhfuil tóir an Ghaeilge a gcónaí chuireann micléin sim in sa tangan agus bíon fánarthú stadéir I dhéanamh vertí. Nis, beidir gur bíon teachtracht is táchtaí a bheith gom díomh an neomh ná gur bí an Ghaeilge tanga commerceáide na rinne sin le rá gur Gaeilge ar fad a bheith le clos a gcuimhse ó léachtóirí agus ó hagascóirí na rinne ins na rangana ar fad. Agus ní léon áras ná go gabhraíonn sé sin go mór le micléin an tanga féin a chalamhú agus líorfacht a bhaint amach dóibh féinnig. Agus fiúmháin fé mar deir mar a bhfuil taithí cuideagaibh ar a bheith déanamh rangana Gaeilge trí Ghaeilge, raibh I daithí ar sin go hanahapaigh go háirithe ins na ceardlanna teangan, sé sin grúpaí beaga bhí na going ina mian micléin a ceachta skilline bunúsacha na teanga, sé sin bíon an bhéim a going anna bhór ar skilline ar nós éisteacht ar an géadol sios, leabhart na teangan féinnig an dát, léamh agus scríomh agus ramadach agus crinnes. Agus sé an taithí atá gaine ná go muireann micléin anna hanamh ar fad as na ranganna beagastá, sé sin go mbíonn suas le beidir doséan macléin in éon rang a bháin, a cabhrú lena chéile a chuin líorfacht agus crinnes bhaint amach in sa Ghaeilge. Agus chomá lei sin is mailinn a halló go muireann micléin anna hanamh chomá as ábhar na léachtaí. Is be mé caint ar ábhar na léachtaí inis tá an tarna sleamhná agam. Thasúla gom gur féidir libh é sin a gceiscint, déarthaigh Rachel Lum mar a bhfuil sé le feiscin beidir. Mar sin, ceist, cén fá an Ghaeilge? Cén fá go raibhníonn an irid san macléin an Ghaeilge mar ábhar céime? Tá sé ráite gom go bhfuil ód ciún 600 macléin a gcuine idir limanach agus bhuairlas I déanamh stadéirlinn. Well, féimar a cín sibh sa bíon réimse cuiseach leathan ábhar a chlúdach going nar go léachtaí, agus tá caintenis ar ábhar ar nós na nuaile tríochta in nentar stadéir ar ghearrscéalta, ar ghrámaí, ar uorscéalta, agus chomá lei sin ar an nua ilíocht atá a scríomh in sa Ghaeilinn. Ó aimse na haimheochaine an nuas go dtí ná líon féinnig ná réadmh sé sin téimiid siar beidir 100 bliain in sa chóirsa san. Agus nuair a haimid a caint ar chóirsaí nuaile tríochta, na cuasaí atá going cuim sin siad rointas na scríbhneoirí stáilm, rointas na scríbhneoirí a bar a bhí scríomh in éireann riamh. Agus tá má caint an sa as má hasamh ar dhaoine ar nós well, Pádraig Ó Conradh, Martin O'Kane, Sean O'Riordan, Nolan Í Ronald, agus mór an scríbhneoirí atá scríomh fé láthair. So sin díreach chun dornáin beag scríbhneoirí a lua. Agus ina haanta san, cuim sin ar goidléachtaí tradiisiún fada sibhar na Gaeilge ó ré na seanalaí tríochta, agus gandát téann an Ghaeilinn siar go dtí, well, aimse nefh Pádraig más maiileh agus cinnte go raibh Gaeilge a scríomhann sa 7 híis agus as an raig. So cuim sin an tradiisiún é sin ar fad ó ré na seanalaí tríochta agus an bhéalaideis an nuas go dtí lá tá neamhbhain agus ceistine chomhaimsre a bhaine le cuasaí teangan agus pobal in Gaeltachtaí in le neamh sé sin rá an tuch hangólaíocht agus is ábhar é sin go gcuireann micléin anna hímar fada an na stáilm. Agus tuisc na habhar seo ar fad a bheith cho hilginéthach agus cho spéisiúil seo. Is féidir na rá go bhfuil níos mó macléin ná riamh a dul raig chun iarchéimi dhéanamh, sé sin bíon MA nó doctóireacht a scríomh ag micléin na Gaeilge inis. Agus tá micléin tréis tráchtais doctóireachta scríomh ins na réimsí ar fad atá díreach luite gom. Agus sé sin ag leibhéal an MA agus ag leibhéal na doctóireachta agus tá a caiintenis dar nó rudí nós well an bélidas, an nóla tríocht, gweil na hochtú híise diog, Severus na teangan féinnig agus mar sin dó. So tá sin gné go bhfuil míidir dírig forbert dhéana bhar sin cuasaí ar chéime agus tá fémar derm annach chuid mac léin dullar an gonar sin. Ac an dod ní hééis sin an tain ra a bháin atá ag mic léin agus ó heh slite bethe nó ó heh garamacha bethecha tá mic léin a dhéon stadéir a rain na gweilena ansá ag obair mar bhúntóirí. Agus tá an gweilin fós anna háchtach má heastín bhuiid bheith a bhúntóir ag levéil na bonscoile nó ó ag levéil na mánscoile. Agus tá éarmhic léin eile dar gcuide go mar léachtóirí gan dáhat ar an dia levéil, mar eisteóirí, mar iriseoirí, mar chréaltóirí, TG Cahir, radio na Gaeltachta agus mar sin dó. Agus tá daoine eile ag gibsiú a gcúrsaí éireachta agus trasóireachta. Agus is tócha gur fíor go bhfuil níos mó deisina ná riamhhain do bhic léin le céimine sa ghailinn. So ní múntóireachta bháin aha mar rawe ag a duine fágant chláiste ach tá mórrán rána áis. Agus mar sin an cheiste bhí chaáir ír ná cin fá nach níon fá stadéir ar an ghaige. Is cinnte go mine tú tainmh agus tarife as má dhéanaan tú. So péisciile tá súla gom bheitránáid sibh an ghailinn i go láiste bhar an smáil, má hagann sibh an sa, agus má dhéanaan sibh bíigi cinnte de go gur forfáilte is fithe roimh. So beidir súile cúpla ceistúibh beidir níos an jobh beidir nó tá má cheol réomhfuiste goibh gan dáhat má heasín bhuibh nóta chur chum. Ach fé mar deirm bíigi cinnte má dhéanaan sibh an ghailinn go gurtar fáilte is fithe roimh. Mar sin bhfuil uimse go fólaigh agus thnáis go dtí réite.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation. And as Brondan has said, if you have questions about Gaeilge on the BA degree, you can of course use the chat function on today's webinar, or you can email Brondan directly. His email address is available on the college website. So we're going to move now to our next speaker, and our next speaker is Dr. Rosemary Day, and she is head of the Department of Media and Communication Studies.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just hoping that my slides are showing there and I can't see them. So I'm going to delay you for a moment until yes, here we go. And 1 second. It's a bit more clunky than being face to face, but there we go. So look, guys, I'm not sure what age and stage you're at in school, but I know some people are from TY, 5th year, hopefully some 6th years as well, because the sooner we get to see you face to face on campus, the better from my point of view. I want to explain to you a little bit about the subject, about where you can work afterwards, and why I believe not only will you have a great time while you're studying with us here, but why I believe it's a subject that will stand to you right the way through your life. And I suppose the first thing to kick off with is to say that while you probably spend more time consuming media and engaging with it than you do in school, you aren't actually given much of a chance to understand how media works when you're in school, to understand it with a critical eye, and to be able to be masters of it rather than probably being subjects of it or being manipulated by it. You know, people often say you spend all your days on the phone and, you know, you're becoming zombies. Well, I suppose what we're saying is, first of all, that's not true. And secondly, we teach modules and subjects that enable you to prove how that's not true. And we've had to change over the years just as the media have changed. And so a lot of the stuff that we teach has to do with things like how to be not just the person who gets TikTok videos and puts up something that doesn't go very far, but to be the person who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. So if I just show you some of the people or some of the areas, I've lost it now, where we go back to where our graduates are, and somebody's trying to get in there, then perhaps you will see better how we go. My slides are not transitioning for me. Here we go. So some of the places that our graduates work are in, as I just mentioned, social media, and they work as creatives or as managers and as editors. Editors being not just the person who chops up the stuff, although that's very important and we teach that, but also being the person who puts the whole concept together and puts it up there on the platform. And so we have people working across all social media platforms in Ireland and worldwide. And that's a relatively new thing for us. The department is here, I suppose, 25 years. And we started with more traditional media, like as you see here, television and radio. And while social media is where our graduates are increasingly getting employment and where most of our examples come from when we're teaching, we still have a large number of people who go into those traditional media like film, like television, like radio. And as you can see, I've outlined here, they go into all roles in all areas. Journalism on all platforms. So the advantage, I suppose, of taking media in Mary I rather than going to a college that teaches journalism only is, of course, it's very good to take a journalism degree. I'm not going to dismiss or disrespect anybody else's course, but the advantage of coming to Mary I to do it is that you have a second string to your bow. And in the chat there a few minutes ago, somebody asked a question about that, and I was saying that absolutely it's a help to have a strength when you go in as a journalist. So I'm always reminded of a producer in RTE who told me that years ago she used to mind her granddad and he used to watch the cricket. And when she had finished in college in those days in UCD, she had done Greek and Roman civilization and nobody thought she'd ever get a job anywhere. She went for an interview anyway for her first job and they wanted to know what she knew about sport. And she said, well, not much, but I know a good bit about cricket. And it just so happened that they were looking for somebody. Cricket was only becoming popular in Ireland. They were looking, it's not popular now. They were looking for somebody and she just fell straight in for the job. And she's been there for nearly 40 years since and is in a senior position. Our own graduates, as you can see, work in RTE, in TG Cahir, in TV3, and further afield. They work in advertising, marketing. You can read all of the ones there for yourselves. I'm going to show you some pictures of some of them. So you probably know this woman here, Jackie Hurley. She's on sport on radio and television, as are these guys down here. And this woman here is the deputy head of all sport in RTE across all platforms. So that's across television and radio, but also across their much larger, much more important and growing area of digital first and digital online material. So we really have that expertise. These are only some of the more than 60 people we have who have graduated from our very small boutique department here, where I have to say people get a really good training and a really good start in life. This guy you might recognise from the 6-1 News. He's RTE's political correspondent, sport, producer, television and radio. She's from Limerick originally, Ema Romani, radio producer, Lyric FM, RTE. Many of them have won international awards and we're very proud of them. Likewise, in other television stations, we have people in Sky, in Virgin Media, in TG Cahir. I'm not going to go through all their names because you'll get to know them if you come here. And certainly they've been very helpful to our graduates in terms of placements in the third year and in terms of their careers, like an old boys or an old grads network that we have. Radio is my own passion. You might think it's dead, but I'm pleased to say it certainly isn't. All of these people have graduated from us and work in different radio stations around the country, except this guy, okay, who your parents, if they're watching today, will know him. But this guy is produced by this girl here, this young woman. I keep thinking of all my grads, even those from 30 years ago, I think of as girls and boys. But sure, look, this happens with age. She produces the Pat Kenny Show, and she's going to, she's very young. She only graduated 4 years ago, but she's on an upward trajectory, most recently with Graham Norton there. Spin Southwest, Care FM, your local services. BBC World Service mightn't mean anything to you now, but in radio, it's kind of like the golden grail to get a job there. And I'm pleased to say we have graduates in every radio station in Ireland and in many worldwide. This young woman I'm just putting here, she came back, and as many of our grads do, when they're working in the industry, and they give workshops and talks both within the curriculum and outside of it as extra things to help our students, because they appreciate what they got when they were as students here. She's in charge of, I don't know if you've heard of Night Runners and Penny Dreadful, but you've certainly heard of Troy Studios and Ardmore Studios. And her job is to do all the digital branding and the digital marketing. And this is from when she was in college herself, and she went for the Student Oscars, came second. And this is her with some of her mates, just showing that the fun and the experience that you get both in class and particularly outside of class, when you're making films, when you're on the radio station, when you're putting up your vlog, when you're doing your own social media bits and pieces, really helps. And the professional training we can give you in making video, in making podcasts, in making audio, obviously gives you a cutting edge. So what do you do when you come and study here? Well, in your first year, it's mainly the theory of media. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, you have to get a good grounding on what you're at. Secondly, we have to kind of deprogram you from everything that you've been told and try and get you to start thinking for yourselves and working out from what you do with your own lives, how it is that people of your age engage with the media. And then in the second year, we split the courses into theoretical courses, and the red ones, or the ones in red, are the practical hands-on ones. So in film studies, you'll do a history of the development of film and also understand a lot more about film than just what I know you do some film studies in English for Leaving Cert, but it's not like that at all. In that case, in the English discipline, they're inclined to look at it as a bit like literary theory. So you talk about the narrative or the symbolism or whatever. We talk about much more. We talk about how the film was crafted, what goes into the scene, what doesn't, how you do script writing, etc. Journalism speaks for itself. So we teach you how to communicate or search out for research and then present a news story across a range of platforms. So the traditional print one is still the basis for everyone, but we also do for podcasting and for radio, and we do for video blogs or vlogs and magazine design. Yeah, there's quite a lot goes on in that module. Sociology of the media might be a term you don't understand. That teaches you how people engage with the media. So increasingly, it's when you spend those 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day on your phone looking at, TikTok and less so Snapchat now, maybe Instagram more than anything else for most of us. What are you doing and what is being done to you? And how could you perhaps maybe sway what other people are thinking or how they work? So that looks at how audiences engage with the media. And the next two, media research methods, helps you in preparing for your undergraduate dissertation, which I know you've been told about already. It's a very big piece of work that people do. You can do a practical one, a production one, where you make a film or make a radio program or a podcast, or you can do a more traditional research-led one, which is really useful when you're going for a job in any area, to be able to say, well, I can actually come up with an idea myself. I can research it, I can do the interviews, and I can turn that then into a readable piece of work that makes a contribution to what we know about how our lives are today. Because media, to me, is how people see their lives, how they communicate about their lives, and in many cases, how they live their lives. Video production is probably one of our most popular modules. This is where people learn in a professional TV studio using a TriCaster, that's 3 cameras at the one time, and a green screen, how to, again, drawing from the journalism module, research and script and present and then produce a news program. And that's a live news program of 40 minutes, which is the assessment. So there aren't that many exams in media. It's nearly all hands-on work and obviously essays as well to back it up. In your third year, you're off campus. And I think you've already had a chat about this. If not, it'll come up later, where you have a choice between going to study abroad, which I'm all in favour of, get off the island, experience something different, live somewhere, and we have links all over the world, not just in English-speaking countries that are exciting, like America and Australia, but also countries where they don't speak English, and really exciting, like Morocco and Lithuania and Turkey, and closer to home, of course, France and Germany, etc. So depending on what you're interested in, how adventurous you are, we have good placements in all sorts of areas and countries. And the other option then is to work in a paid placement in a radio station, in a newspaper. We have a placement, for example, every year in Snapchat in London, paid placement, and the money isn't great, but it's enough to live on in London, which is saying something, and it's a great opportunity. Or paid placements with newspapers and magazines like the Farmers Journal, for example, in their living edition. That's probably not the right name, I can't remember, their Country and Living, I think, edition, which is like the magazine, a bit like the Gloss or something for the rural community, or with local newspapers and local radio stations, and of course with the major ones as well, and with television. And we often think that it's a really good idea if you can do one of each. So if you spent one semester working, say for example with Live 95, and another semester maybe studying abroad in Amsterdam, or we've a new placement actually just coming online this week in Seville in Spain, with a great range of courses you can study. So then in your fourth year, and I hope I'm not talking too long, I have a tendency to do that. In your fourth year, you have 2 more practical modules, and you have choice then of 3 theory-driven ones. So you take a course in script writing, where you learn about the craft of writing a film or a television drama. So kin is really big on people's radars at the moment. Love, Hate before that. But internationally, all the stuff you look at on Netflix, and we have a good few, I'd say about 5 people who are working as scriptwriters in the industry at the moment and forging their careers there. We have that course anyway teaches you how to write a script. You don't write the full script then, but you map it out and you write a few scenes for it, and that's your assessment there. It's quite a lot of work in a 12-week period, but some people just thrive on it and find that this is what I really want to do. And it may not be something that you're considering while you're sitting there out of your school uniform today. But who knows? If you can go back to the first slide that I have, I'm not going to do that now, and look at the range of things that you can do. I mean, it's a great starting board. And in each of our careers, not just at my age, but younger people, and certainly for you, it's going to hold true that what you choose to do now, when you're 19 and come into college, will not be the thing that you'll be working at when you're 29, 39, 49, and God help us the way the retirement age is going, and it sounds impossible to you, but at 69. So choose carefully, guys, as to what you want to do, because if you choose something that you're passionate about and you're good at, as I put in the chat there, you will be more likely to be called for interview for the jobs that you want, and you'll certainly have a better degree to show for it. And the third reason, I suppose, is that if you enjoy your time here, then you're going to enjoy your career and your life afterwards. Think about what it is that fires you up, and if it fires you up, that's the thing to go for. It may not be media, it may be one of the other subjects that we offer here, but choose what you're passionate about. So as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about media, and I need to tell you about the rest of these. Media, Culture and Society is a module I teach in 4th year. It sounds kind of stuffy. A lot of Erasmus students coming from other countries take it, and they're a bit surprised at the weight of it. There's a lot of reading in that module, but it's really where all the other modules come together, and where we actually really assess what it is, the role of media in our world today and in our lives as individuals. So my students do projects on, the influence of influencers, or how influencers make their money, or increasingly in the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, maybe 60-70% of the projects they've done for me on that course have related to their Instagram use. Less so with TikTok, though. I'm thinking as TikTok is becoming more and more the top dog of the platforms, more and more of that. And some actually go back to Facebook with some kind of fondness and nostalgia, and in particular to investigate what their parents are doing in Facebook as a platform that you guys have moved from. Television and new media speaks for itself. It talks about how Netflix and Amazon Prime and the rest of it have taken over the world of television. It gives you a background into television production and the development of television as a central medium in family life, and then how we've become atomized and how we all might be watching the same thing on the screen and wondering, but we're on our small screens watching something else or engaging with something else. So television and new media, a new module, very interesting. Advanced video production, children in the media then speaks for itself again. It talks about how the media influences children and what children make of the media. So it's a fantastic module. But the advanced video production would probably be the crowning production module. So you've already had a number of practice-based, production-based modules. And when you come to do this one in a team or a crew, as they say in the industry, of 6 people, you make your own 20-minute documentary on any topic that you like, and that's your assessment. But you're using professional cameras, professional lighting kits, professional sound engineering. We have all the equipment. We have a fantastic studio. We have a great Mac lab. We have 6 editing suites with Macs. So the college has always been really good at providing cutting-edge equipment, and I like to think cutting-edge staff as well in the department. We have one thing that's not part of the course, but that you may have heard about, or certainly you can tune into on 99 FM if you're living in the Limerick region. It's called Wired FM. It's been going for as long as I have here in the college, 25 years. It's a community radio station, and we own it jointly, the students, I should say, own it jointly with the students of LIT. So it's a great cross-fertilisation place. Lots of romances have come about from that. It's a great way to meet other students in the city. We provide extra training in Wired that helps you if you want to go for a career in radio or a career in film production or anything else. And we have a number of outreach projects. It's very good in your CV. So look, guys, I think I see Rachel appearing there. I've gone over time. I hope I haven't bored you. These are some of the department here. We're all quite old. We're looking for newer, younger people, and some of our graduates are lecturing in other colleges. You can contact me if you want to know any more. And at that point, Rachel, you'll be relieved to hear that I will get off the stage and come back to you.
Thanks very much, Rosemary. I'm really not trying to kick you off the stage, but we need to move on to our next speaker. And thank you very much for that, Rosemary. So we're going to move to our second to last speaker, and that is Dr. Christiane Schoenfeld, who is the head of the German Studies Department here at MIC.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm hoping everything is okay. I'm just uploading my presentation here. Now, hopefully that'll work. No, it's not there yet, is it? There we are. Okay, now you're very welcome to German Studies and of course Mary Immaculate College, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our program and why I think studying German is actually a really good idea. Rosemary was just talking about, you should do something that you feel passionate about, and she's absolutely right. Now, the problem with German is that often in school, passion goes a little bit out the window, and it is actually a great experience to pick up German at third level at Mary Immaculate College. We have fantastic students, very enthusiastic students about the subject. So I think it is a completely different experience to do German studies at MIC. And I don't know, some of you might be on campus at the moment. And if you look around the campus, there are actually quite a few sculptures by Imogen Stewart, a German-Irish sculptor. And this is the picture that you're seeing here at the moment. Now, with our program, obviously, it is about knowledge. But it's also about skills, transferable skills, and also about gaining access not only to one of the strongest economies and job markets in Europe, but also to the biggest variety of jobs that you could imagine. In our program, we cater to both beginning students, students that have no previous knowledge of German, or only, if you only have a little knowledge, if you only did the junior cert, but also we have the advanced course for those that did the Leaving Cert in German. Now, in the course, you'll be doing language, you'll be doing the context to the German language cultures, and you'll be gaining intercultural competence, which is vital in today's global economy and intercultural society. You will be gaining a lot of new perspectives by studying a language like German, and thus you'll be gaining transferable skills, which are hugely valuable today. As you might know, German is the first language of the largest group of people in Europe, and studying German, I think, does help you to make your mark in today's multicultural societies, and also in the multilingual classrooms of the future, if you're interested in teaching. Now, recently, the government of Ireland has published a number of studies which indicate that German is a key language, and there is a huge shortage of that skill in Ireland. It has been declared one of the future skills needs in Ireland And there is a shortage of secondary school teachers in German, but also the government now wants to introduce modern European, continental European languages in primary schools, and there aren't really many teachers that are able to do that. So it is an important need. We need a lot more graduates in German, and it's also a part of the EU languages policy that we should all speak our mother tongue and 2 languages. So, it is a skill that will be useful in, so many careers. So if you're not entirely sure yet what you want to do in your life, having a language like German is going to be extremely useful. Employers are crying out for people with German language skills. It doesn't matter if you want to go into teaching, if you want to go into, advertising, marketing, media, journalism, management. We've had students that ended up, they were employed in law firms or in accountancy offices, not because they had a degree in that area, but because they were able to speak and write and communicate in German. So, it's a great basis for a future career. So in our program, as I said, you're going to study the language, of course. So you'll gain language awareness. You'll become much more aware of how languages are structured. You will learn to communicate really well in German. Excuse me. You'll be, writing, translating. You will be working in courses. You'll be, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't believe the phone rings in exactly the 5 minutes that I'm supposed to say something here. Anyway, so language teaching and learning is also something that, is part of our course. So there are a lot of self-reflective elements and, of course, the context of the language. So you'll be learning about current affairs, history, literature, film, social context. You'll be learning about Ireland's place within Europe. And by learning all that, you will be learning about gaining intercultural competence. Now, German is actually not as hard as you might think. There is continuous assessment. We're a small department, but a very supportive one. You'll get regular feedback. There's a lot of reflective learning. You'll be working in small groups. You'll be doing presentation analyses, lots of communication. So if you want to know more about German studies, check out our website. Don't hesitate to email me. My email address is here on the slide. I'll also be around for another half hour in the chat, but I have a lecture at 12 o'clock, so I'll be leaving then, yeah? So don't hesitate to ask questions or contact me, and whatever you decide, be well and have a great time at third level. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Christiane. Thank you very much, Christiane, for that informative presentation on German studies in the BA degree. So we move finally to our last speaker. And just before we go to this very important speaker, I just want to let you know that we are well over time, unfortunately, and we won't have much time for questions at the end. However, we do have a CAO hub on our college website. I'm going to post the address for that hub on the chat, so you'll be able to go there afterwards. And you can, of course, contact the departments directly. Their contact details are all up on their websites. So we're going to go now to Dr. Ronan Flatley from the Department of Mathematics and Computer Studies, who has so patiently waited to give you his presentation. So I'll hand over now to Ronan.
Not at all, Rachel. Thanks very much. I just need to share my my slides here. Great. Rachel, can you confirm that that's visible?
Yes, that is, Ronan.
Thanks very much. So welcome everyone. My name is Ronan Flatley. I'm a lecturer in mathematics at the Department of Mathematics and Computer Studies here in Mary Immaculate College. And what you can see on the screen there is a cover from the New Yorker magazine from 3 weeks ago. It's by a world famous illustrator. Her name is Lucy Gutierrez. She's Catalan. And well, people typically have a complex relationship with our subject. And I just wanted to share with you what Lucy said when she was asked if she liked maths in school. She said, "I hated it for a while in secondary school when the classes got difficult. But then I started to understand it and ended up seeing it as a game. I love the visuals of the maths world, and I like playing with and mixing different ideas to find new ways to explain something. This cover is a result of that process." Now, when you come into MIC on the arts program, I mean, the first thing you'll have to decide is what 4 subjects to take. And obviously it's crucial that you make good choices. So you'll be considering whether should you take mathematics or not. It might be an easy question for you. For example, if you have a natural flair or talent for the subject, or you've really enjoyed it in school. If you're the type of person who pays a lot of attention to detail and likes following reasoned arguments, then mathematics is for you. Are you a critical thinker? Are you an analytical person? If so, maths is the choice for you. But as I said, our relationship with mathematics is often complex. So I would go a step further and say that if at any point in your school career you enjoyed some mathematics, then you should consider taking the subject. If you're looking for a challenge, then this subject will sharpen your mind, it will hone your analytical and communication skills, and you'll be supported all along the way. So you needn't think that you're out of your depth. Okay, in first year, if you're finding it tough, of course you don't, as you're only taking 2 subjects into second year, you don't need to continue it, but you will get support from the Learning Support Centre in subject, where we have expert tutors who've seen all the obstructions and difficulties in learning elementary mathematics. What will you be studying? Okay, so some of these topics you will already have some grounding from school, but essentially all the modules here are taught from scratch. In first year, there are 2 modules, number theory and geometry. And in second year, we move to linear algebra. So that involves, for example, the study of matrices, differentiation. Okay, so you might be familiar with some calculus. Calculus is the mathematics of change. Statistics plays a crucial role in the knowledge economy in the modern world. So how to present and interpret data is hugely important. Integration is the inverse process of differentiation. So they're for second year modules. And in your final year, we move to some further calculus, multivariable calculus, some more advanced geometry, Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometry, abstract algebra, which will build on the elementary number theory module that you'll have taken in first year, as well as the linear algebra and other modules from second year. And then a capstone module called computational mathematics, which uses the programming language Sage, where we do mini projects involving many of the the topics that you'll have studied in the course of the 4 years. So that's the content. As regards a final year project or undergraduate dissertation, you will have the opportunity to do this in mathematics should you wish. So at the end of second year, students discuss with potential supervisors a range of topics. What's good about doing it in mathematics is that the attention you get is second to none. So you get close supervision of the investigations that you'll be pursuing. And then after graduation, what do our students do? Well, many go on to further study, some in STEM disciplines, others in other humanities. Many go on to teaching, so doing a PME either in primary school or secondary school teaching. Quite a few of our students in recent years have done the PME in secondary maths teaching in UL. But it's also possible to do it in other places like NUIG and UCC. Also, we've had students who are now working in financial services, in ICT services, in planning in county councils, and in software development, for example. Okay, so as many of my colleagues have already mentioned, in the modern world, we're not really, our plan isn't really to prepare graduates for a particular role. It's more to help the graduate acquire the skills that will make them employable in the modern world, where it is, as Dr. Owen Flannery already mentioned, it's quite rare for somebody to have a fixed career. Okay, so you need to be much more pliable and flexible, and that's what we're aiming for. So we're aiming to give transferable skills that are highly sought after by employers. We're very lucky here to have staff in the department who are very student-centered. Okay, so students are at the center of our focus. We're all very passionate about our subject and about teaching, and we have a wide range of mathematical interests. So if there's a particular topic of mathematics that you're interested in investigating further, you will find someone to discuss and help you with this pursuit. So what remains is come talk to us. Our head of department is Mr. Diarmuid O'Driscoll. I have his contact email there, or you're more than welcome to talk to myself. They're my contact details, and you can find more about the subject in the BA program at that URL. Hope you enjoyed these presentations and you found this one in particular informative, and I'll hand you back now to Rachel.
Thanks very much, Ronan, for that presentation. So unfortunately, we have gone well over time. You have had an opportunity to hear from all of the subjects, with the exception of French. But as Dara has said in his comments in the chat, he has posted a link to the departmental website, which has lots of information about studying French as part of the BA degree. And of course, you can contact him directly, or anyone of the department, with any questions that you may have.